What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well today. This is Raphael Garcia here for episode number 69 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. This is Friday, September 11th, 2020. And I thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time on this Friday evening or whenever you listen to this podcast. As always, you can find us over on the flagship, which is MMAratings.net. Our social media handles are MMA Ratings Net on both Instagram and Twitter. All of our content is always there. You can check us out on podcast platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, and Breaker. We'll be there every week when we drop this show and also our MMA podcast, which comes out on Tuesdays. Myself and Schwan Humes out there dropping the heat. So today I'm going to talk about WWE content, AEW content, as I usually do. I meant to include the G1 Climax blocks on this agenda, but I forgot to add them, so I will not be talking about them today. I need to go back and kind of do some more research on that as well anyway, but we'll be talking about G1 at some point in time, probably next week. But let's go ahead and jump into this show. I expect to go probably about half an hour, if that, talking about both WWE content and AEW content from this week, starting with WWE first. And some of the highlights I would like to cover first. I'm not going to go into every show. I'm sure most of the people that listen to this podcast saw the shows. You probably didn't like them as much as I did, but you still sat through them, so I commend you for that. But we're going to start with talking about the Bayley versus Sasha feud. Last week it kicked off because Bayley basically decimated Sasha after their tag team title loss on SmackDown, and then this week Bayley comes out and cuts a promo explaining why she did it. I love everything about this so far. We knew that the Bayley Sasha moment was going to be coming at some point in time. We knew that. We knew that that was the angle that they've been wanting to get to for years with these two ladies. They have not been able to get to it. And they finally found, well, I'm not going to say finally found a way to get to it, but they are at a point where they are to it. And I'm going to put it in air quotes. And what is the deal is that Bayley basically beat up Sasha on Friday of last week, and now Sasha's out. There's no telling how long she'll be out. And I like that they're doing that because we don't know when we're going to get this, match. And I'm okay with that because I don't want it to be a rush. I think this could be something that is, what's the word? That could be stretched out, that benefits everybody, that benefits these two ladies, especially while giving everyone, some other women on SmackDown, an opportunity to be elevated into the title picture, or being elevated in just any shape or form. So what I would hope to see is that we split these two apart for a little while. They have a draft coming up, I think, after Survivor Series next, or no, it's scheduled for October, I believe. I would like to see Sasha get drafted to Raw before she even comes back healthy. I want to see her drafted to Raw without any mention of these two women having their issues and like keeping them apart. Let Bayley be able to go and fight whoever else is on SmackDown roster. Naomi, the returning Carmella, Dana Brooke is there. Nikki Cross, she has that match. To me, like there's women that could be built up in a way as she can have those matches. Keep Sasha over on Raw. Let her do her thing. Have them on separate teams for Survivor Series. I think that's a good idea, but don't let them really interact with each other. Don't let them be the last two or something like that, and just keep that away. actually, if Bayley's still the champion, she actually won't even have to face. Uh, she won't even be in a team match. So that right there really kind of solves itself. Sasha needs to win the Royal Rumble in 2021, clearly. And the thing I don't like about that is, yeah, you've had you've had Becky, Charlotte win it back to back. Having Sasha win it would be another four horsewomen winning the match, and I can see people already complaining about that. So the best bet right now is to have that still happen because it is the best storyline in WWE Women's Wrestling right now. That sets up Banks clearly calling out Bayley for a title shot at WrestleMania. That's the match that needs to be made. That can headline WrestleMania easily. A singles match with Bayley versus Banks, that can headline WrestleMania. I don't know if they'll do it, but it can headline that show. Bayley's promo on Friday was fire, talking about the whole situation. She saw Sasha, she saw her turn coming, so she basically got her first. And I appreciate that because again, it speaks back to the issues of this feud over time. It lets you know that she's not just some dummy who was going to wait to get herself stabbed in the back. She was going to do the stabbing first. And I appreciate that they talked to that and that she did that because it makes her look like a bigger threat. It makes her look like a bigger badass, and I can really, really appreciate and dig that through and through. So we had that moment, and I saw a lot of people posting the picture of it's very similar. Well, not very similar. It's basically a remake of Eddie's promo after he turned on Rey Mysterio, which I really like. We know that they have a very strong love for Eddie, they being Sasha and Bayley, and I think that works very well. It continues on, and it keeps that, it ties that stuff all together, and I think that's what's the most interesting part about wrestling sometimes, when they tie things together in a way that just makes it feel like a cohesive storyline. I was talking about professional wrestling earlier today, and I described it as soap opera with violence, and that's really something that works when they get that feeling going on a consistent basis. And the Sasha versus Bayley feud has that going. So that's something I really appreciated this week. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso is being very well built. Outside of Bayley versus Banks, this is my favorite angle on WWE television. This week, Roman and Jey were supposed to do a tag team match against Baron Corbin and Sheamus. Jey came out there by himself. Roman Reigns didn't show up to the very end, did one move, got the pin, and walked out with Jey. The thing I love about this version of Roman is that less is more. He's not talking. Paul is doing all the talking for him. When he does speak, he says a couple of words, maybe one or two sentences, and lets it ride. I think that's what's most important. He doesn't need to be someone in there cutting these long, ridiculously drawn out promos. Give him a couple of lines. Let Paul do his talking. Jey is a great talker. Jey did damn well with his promo to open up the show today. Let that go and let Roman just be the stewing, brooding bad guy. And I say bad guy, I don't think he's really a heel. I think he's just someone who wants that damn belt. But let him be that character and let it ride, because I think that works perfectly for him. I'm a fan of what they're doing right now, and some people are talking about, well, this is too late. It should have been done 5 years ago. Yeah, that's always going to be the problem. We're always going to be talking about this should have been done earlier, but I'm liking where this is going. I don't know how we get to that quote unquote bloodlines stable that everyone's talking about with Roman, Jimmy, and Jey. I don't know how we get there, because what I think is going to happen in this match is Roman's going to beat the shit out of Jey Uso. And I don't know how Jay's going to take that beating and then all of a sudden be in his corner. And how does this play on for Jimmy? I don't know how long Jimmy Uso is out. He's injured right now, so I hope maybe he can come back sooner in some way, shape, or form. But I'm not sure if this is the time for it. I don't know if that's how it's really going to play out. But I think Jay is about to take this ass whooping in a couple of weeks, and I don't know where they quite go from there if they're going to give us this Bloodlines stable. But I love that they're giving us something different. I love that I don't have to sit through another Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin singles feud. Because guess what? I would turn that shit the fuck off. Not watching it. Not again. They've done it way too many times. He was in a tag team match today with them, but we can't escape that Baron Corbin or Sheamus bullshit. But if this Roman Reigns gives us something different, I'm a fan for it, and I'm here to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this. I think that this is one of the, like I said, this outside of Bayley versus Banks, this is the best feud on WWE television. So this week we got a new NXT champion, which I have been calling, and that is in Finn Balor. He won the NXT title on Tuesday, defeating Adam Cole in the opener of the night, which was an exceptional match between these two. I mean, you knew they were going to give us something fantastic, and we all knew that was going to be something exceptional. I think, okay, so a couple of things. I'm glad that he is the champion again 5 years after he won the title the first time, and he's a champion under the Prince gimmick. I like that. I'm liking the Prince gimmick a lot, obviously because I was a fan of his back over in New Japan, and it's such a different look that it works for him, in my opinion. The smiling, I'm showing my abs all the time. Finn Balor was getting his ass beat on the main roster. We don't need that guy back. In many ways, I don't think we really need the Demon back right now. He did an interview, he being Finn, did an interview this week I was reading about today about how he saw the Demon becoming a crutch for his character on the main roster, and he thought that was an issue. That was really limiting him, and he doesn't need that at this point during his NXT run. And I totally agree with that. That shouldn't be a crutch that they bring out for every single big match. He doesn't need that. Let him be the Prince, let him beat everybody up, and let him go about his way. I see him. He could be almost, he's not as good as Jon Moxley on the mic at all, and that will never be a strength of his. But being that type of, not babyface, but being that type of badass type of character, I think he could pull that off. And that's something I would like to see them really try and do during this run, because he needs something different, and I don't want to see them going back to the Demon gimmick. What I would like to see, though, is that he keeps this title for an extended period of time, and he's the one that welcomed Karrion Kross back. If they're going to bring the Demon back, that would be the time to do it. But again, I hope they don't do that. I can see Karrion Kross coming back and going right after Finn. I'm assuming he'll probably be back sometime next year. But that's the way they can introduce him back into a big feud. Obviously, going after the title, he did not lose, and him versus Balor would be a pretty big match that works, in my opinion. The other big moment from Monday or Tuesday NXT was Mercedes Martinez versus Rhea Ripley. They were in the main event. That match ruled. That cage match was exceptional from start to finish. I loved it. I wrote about it on Daily DDT this week. And what I love the most is that it was a match that served everyone involved. For Rhea, she immediately reminds everybody that she's a threat in the women's division. Since losing that title to Charlotte, she was downplayed in a way that made it seem like people had lost faith in her. I don't know if that was the case or not. For a while, it seemed like she was stuck in Australia. I remember that rumor came out, but she was going to be stuck in Australia as if she had to go home. That was right around the time that COVID was really ramping up. But it looks like she's back in that position where she is top badass, and I love it. Io is a great champion. I love her as a champion. She can really deliver start to finish in the ring. I don't think she's long for that title, though. I can see her being someone that ends up facing Asuka on Raw at some point in time, especially after the draft in some fashion. I hope that that's the case. But let's see what they do with her. I think Rhea's going to end up with the NXT Women's title again. I could see her versus Raquel Gonzalez being a big money feud. Notice they haven't since Rhea Ripley and Raquel had that moment in the match, in the tag team match a couple weeks ago. They haven't gone back to that. But I do believe that there's something there for them that could be a big money feud for those two ladies. But they need to elevate Rhea back to that status where she was and put the belt back on her. I think that's the direction that we're headed. For Mercedes, on the opposite hand, she's headed up to the main roster for that retribution angle. So this gets her off of NXT with the loss. They have that deal where just about everyone goes out with the loss, which I understand. She goes out with the loss, but she still looks like a badass. And when she's unmasked as a part of retribution in the coming weeks, it's still a big get for the women's division up there. I think that she's going to be a legit monster. I think that stable's going to flop, but once they wash that stink off of everyone, I think that's going to be a pretty big moment for the women's division when Mercedes Martinez is revealed, and this match is going to be a good reminder for everyone about that. So that's all my coverage for WWE from this past week. Oh, I want to say two other things, I'm sorry before I do that. First off, there's a debate about whether or not NXT should move to Tuesday. So they did 853. That was their number this week. I think they did 880 last week. AEW did 900 something like that last week, I believe, and over 1 million this week. We're going to talk about that in a second. So there's some interesting debate about whether or not NXT should move to Tuesdays so everybody wins. I am kind of on the fence because that would mean we would have wrestling on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Friday, Saturdays for some pay-per-views, and then Sundays for some pay-per-views. I don't know about everybody, but I don't know if I want that. Because even Thursdays, I'm sure that's something we could probably watch on Thursdays. I could fit probably AEW Dark that I will be missing now on Thursdays, or New Japan that I'm trying to get more into on Thursdays, or independent wrestling on Thursdays. You could fit something in there. But that's a lot of content. Right now I have Tuesdays and Thursdays I use for other days. So being a little bit selfish, I don't know if I want those days to go to professional wrestling again. So we'll kind of see what that looks like, but I am not a fan of that idea. Not a fan in the least bit. But we'll kind of figure out how that looks. I'd rather it stay the way it is, but I get why people are saying, hey, maybe we should have a show on Tuesdays and a show on Thursdays now to make sure to help everybody win. I don't know. I don't know if WWE's content will be able to keep up the strong numbers before we see Raw and SmackDown like drop offs. But let's kind of hope for the best. I haven't seen anything to confirm that they're even thinking about moving their show, but I don't think it's a totally bad idea. One thing that is killing Raw and SmackDown though is these rehashed matches. We're getting the same matches week after week. We got Keith Lee versus Randy Orton this week, where they've wrestled every single week since Keith Lee's debut. This match ended the same way the first match did, with Drew McIntyre running down to interfere. What is the point of that? What is the point? We got Dominic versus Buddy Murphy. That's all we've seen for Dominic Mysterio. I personally don't want to see him, but there's nothing else that they could be doing with him. Apollo Crews, he's involved fighting the Hurt Business. Now they did the swerve this week with Cedric Alexander joining the Hurt Business, which I'm a fan of. And I think that I wish it was Ricochet that turned, but we can only wish. But we got that turn, which switches that up a little bit. But all of Apollo Crews' matches since June have been against the Hurt Business in some form or fashion. Why are they giving us the same matches over and over and over again? Is creative in that bad of a spot that that's what they have to do, or is it just that they don't care to give us something new because they think that people are going to watch week after week? Because the ratings are saying something different. People aren't going to watch week after week, and I don't at some point in time, it has to give, and they have to start doing something different. I don't know if that'll ever be the case, but we can always hope that they start to give us something different. at some point in time, because right now, giving us the same thing week after week, I'm not a fan of it. And it's clear as day that that's a part of the reason why their numbers are dropping. So now that I said that, we can head over into the ratings for the talk about AEW content from this week. I'm going to talk about Dynamite and talk a little bit about All Out this week as well. So like I said a second ago, Dynamite hit more than 1 million viewers. This was their second time. No, this is their third time, I think, overall hitting 1 million viewers. This is their third time overall hitting 1 million viewers. This is their first time in 2020 hitting that number, which is exceptional. I think, like I said, I think they did 900 the week before, unopposed, and I mean they do 1 million this week, so I think that is perfect for them. This show, so it's interesting. They did 1 million views, and the big match on this show was Brody Lee versus Dustin Rhodes. That main evented. I see a lot of people kind of picking on this because that main evented, and then the other big segment was Miro, who's Rusev debuted. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. So they kind of joked about that and of how all of these big segments included former WWE guys. It's like, okay, I get what you're laying down there. That's not necessarily the case, but I get what people are trying to really say. But it was a strong show, in my opinion, in some ways. Brody Lee versus Dustin Rhodes, I thought that was it was a solid match. It was a good main event match. Obviously, Brody Lee wins. I wonder what they're going to do with that title. Are we going to, I mean, obviously Cody's probably going to come back and try to challenge for it. But I don't feel like anyone else is getting elevated to be a threat for that belt. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think that is a bit questionable in my opinion. But I don't want to see Miro be the first guy to get a shot at that. I don't want to see I don't want to see the same types of people be the ones getting a shot at that TNT belt. I'm not, well, I don't religiously watch AEW, but AEW is a space where I would love to see different wrestling, different content, something different, different faces. They have a lot of people that I'm interested in. Scorpio Sky, Ray Phoenix, Pac isn't there right now, but he will be back at some point in time. Ricky Starks. So many different people that I am interested in. Brian Pillman Jr. that I would like to see more of, and I hope that TNT title is used as an opportunity to elevate them. Let's talk about Miro now because he debuted as Kip Sabian's best man in their upcoming wedding. I don't know much about Kip Sabian. I don't know much about Penelope Ford. I am open to this debut. I'm open to this addition in AEW, but I'm not sure. I am not sure if this is going to work full time. I want the Rusev to beating the hell out of people. If he has a match next week where he beats the hell out of someone, then I'm all for it. But he's a Twitch guy. Why do I want to see Miro? If I am someone who just watches AEW, never really watched WWE, I was a lapsed fan. I don't know too much about Rusev. Why should I be excited about him? I don't see anything about that right now. I'm sure we'll probably get that soon rather than later. But I understand why some people are like, why should I be excited about this? This introduction flopped. I don't think it flopped per se, but I do think it could have been something a little bit different that helped introduce him as a big character that we should all be excited to see. I hope that we get that. I do believe that we will get that at some point in time. So Ty Conti, she is officially signed with AEW, and I'm happy for her. If you saw when she walked out for her match with Nyla Rose, she was about 2 seconds away from crying. She held it together and she went in there. She had a very solid match with Nyla Rose. I mean, she was went on. She was a part of those April cuts from WWE. She felt like she wasn't getting anything. She had been around NXT for a couple of years now. I remember when she was slotted to be a member of the Undisputed Era, and they nixed her from that because she wasn't good. That's really what it was. She wasn't ready. She wasn't going to be able to hang with those four guys. But seeing her get signed to AEW, she had a solid match with Nyla Rose. I'm happy for her. I would like to see what's next with her. I'd like to see how they build her up. Wishing the best for her in that position. I think she's going to do very well. So let's see what that really looks like in the future for her. Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager did a huge number, and this is big because a lot of people were hating on when Sonny Kiss was signed, talking about, oh, he's going to drive away viewers or she's going to drive away viewers. That's not the case. And you can't say it's because Chris Jericho was involved. No, I think people are behind Sonny Kiss, and let's see what they do with her over time. I think that was it was an okay match, but I'm here for it. I want to see them do things that are different. This is something that was definitely different. Jake Hager, though, get him the fuck off my television. I'm going to say it every time I possibly can. So let's talk about AEW All Out. And I have some thoughts about that. Yes, the card was last Saturday. Everybody's talked about it by now. I want to talk about some of the segments briefly. And then I'm going to call it a night. But when I think about All Out, I hate to say it. Well, I don't know if I hate to say it. But I will say the show wasn't good. I thought the show sucked. And I think it sucked for a couple of different reasons. It sucked for the Matt Hardy situation. We've all talked about that. We've all read about that and wrote about that and, expressed our concerns about that. The show was too long. The Battle Royal sucked. Over Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. It was, and the tag team title match. So the Jon Moxley match in MJF, that ruled. Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida, they've tore it up too as well. But the tag team title match, I feel like it was just too long for me. And I'm looking at the outcome where now you have the Bucks who are mad, you have Kenny Omega who's mad, and you have Adam Page just sitting there who's kind of out and out. And I look at this like, okay, Page Omega hit Page. That was a miscalculation. And then Omega got rolled up for the pin. Why is he mad at Page? Shouldn't it be the other way around? So I'm looking at that, and the Adam Page segment on Wednesday was actually great because it helps further along the storyline, and it almost makes it seem like Adam Page wants to get back together with that group. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but that's what it makes it looks like it's going to. That's what it makes it look like he wants. Excuse me, I can't talk right now. But this match on last Saturday, I don't think it did that feud total justice. I wrote about the Adam Page story arc and how it's one of the better story arcs in wrestling, and it gets me interested because it makes me more interested in Adam Page, and I wasn't interested in him when they first started. It successfully built him up as someone who was an interesting character. I just want to see what's next, and I don't think this match quite did it for me. So there was that issue. The Battle Royal, I appreciate them trying something different with this gimmick, but it just doesn't work for me. Again, Matt Sydal, he was a surprise, and people were like, okay, I like that they put him in this spot instead of Miro because they knew Lance Archer was going to be booked to win. No one wants to see a guy like Miro lose in his first match. If he was in this match like Brian Cage did, he would have to go over. But Lance Archer wins. Eddie Kingston is my dude. He's not my dude. Excuse me, I have to say that because I've only been watching him since NWA. I'm not the most in tune with who he is, but I am becoming a fan of his. They had him there, and he didn't actually lose the match because he went under the rope. Now, I know that they mentioned that this week on Dynamite, and it would be great if they have him and Lance Archer do a one-on-one match this week to kind of build that up and maybe like make it seem like Archer may be about to take that spot from him, but or Kingston may be trying to take that spot from Lance Archer, but he can't. I think that's a good way to solve that. But let's see what that looks like. And Lance Archer's win spoiled the main event. They're not going to do MJF versus Lance Archer at this point in time. Yeah, MJF may be a strong, solid babyface in the future, but they're not going to do that match right now. So once you see Lance Archer win, you're like, well, that means Jon Moxley's going to win, right? Because they're not going to do Archer versus MJF unless they have something else planned where Archer loses the opportunity or something like that. But they're not going to do that because he's been booked pretty solidly. So it really gave away that main event. And let's see, there's like I said, there's some things that could have been cut from this show. All the Dark Order matches, they could have been fine just on Dynamite. Jurassic Express versus the Bucks, that was an AEW Dark match. I get what they're doing and making the Bucks seem more like heels, but that didn't need to be on the show. This event started, I want to say what, 8, 7? 7 is when it started, it ended at midnight. In a world where WWE pay-per-views are ending earlier, AEW does not want to be that show that begins to have pay-per-views that run on for hours and hours for no reason. I feel like this was one of those ones. The cinematic match, Britt Baker versus Big Swole, was okay. Okay at best. I get Britt Baker might not be 100% yet, and she can't do everything in the ring, but this wasn't a great match. It just wasn't. And I hate to say that about her because well, both of them, I think that they're both very solid characters and I get what they're trying to do with them. I want to talk about Matt Hardy first. I want to talk about Thunder Rosa because the Matt Hardy situation was just a gross injustice to Matt. When his head hit the floor, I thought he was bleeding from the back of his head, but he has red hair. He dyed his hair like a blood red, so it looked like his head was bleeding. And then seeing Sammy Guevara struggle to pick him up and basically drag ass him, it looked really, really bad. Aubrey was the only one I was really like looking at him like, yo, this is done. But they kept trying to go, and the whole stop and restart, like, I'm sorry, but no, that was not the point. If nothing else, I feel like AEW would have gotten more respect if they called the match right then and there, and to hell with the angle about Matt Hardy having to leave AEW. They could have done something else to help protect him and help his health right there. That was a gross injustice to Matt Hardy's health. Then he climbs the scaffold and finishes the segment there. Now, a couple of weeks back, you have Taz talking about they don't run a sloppy shop around here in AEW. That was a sloppy shop. They would have gotten much more praise if they stopped and said, no, we're going to look at your health first. This was a mistake. You're hurt. Let's go on. They won't even admit that he had an actual concussion. They claim he didn't have, Tony Khan's tweeting out about Matt not having a concussion, and his wife is like, yeah, he did. So it's an unfortunate situation that I hope that they learn from, because this is a moment where they could have not elevated their product, but this is their first real bad look. And I hope that they put protocols in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Matt Hardy doesn't need to be taking those bumps anymore. Period. He just does not. The big highlight of the show to me was Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida. I wrote about this previously when I saw Thunder Rosa was coming over to AEW. I knew that this match was going to steal the show. Yes, the only detraction was there were some moments that were pretty much, what's the word? Telegraphed spots, and I get that. But 2020, this is today's wrestling. There's telegraph spots all over professional wrestling, and it doesn't make it bad per se. This match I thought was really good. I enjoyed it from start to finish. I'm going to go back and watch it. I am a fan of both of these women. I think Thunder Rosa is Like I think Thunder Rosa is going to have a match in the coming days over her NWA title on AEW. That's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. I loved everything about this match, and I hope we get to see some more of all these ladies. Give them more time. Hikaru Shida wasn't on Dynamite this week, so like let's give them more time. Let's keep building that. But that's all I have for this week. I'm going to go back and watch AEW Dark. I'm going to do some more analysis of the G1 climate blocks and talk about that next week. But again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. My name is rgarcia_sports. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram talking shit about just about everything from pro wrestling to sports. We got the NBA playoffs going on that I love, MMA, politics, everything in between. If you don't believe Black Lives Matter, but you should not follow me though. Just so you're aware. The flagship is MMAratings.net. You can catch all of our content there. Catch us on social media, MMARatingsNet, Instagram and Twitter. Catch us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Breaker. This is Raphael Garcia again. Thank you for checking out the show. Everyone have a good and safe weekend.